Sure. It's Bernie Hess, Hesse.
Okay. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, so just as a start, if you don't mind, if you could just give me kind of a short biographical sketch, kind of where you're from, what you've done, what you're doing now, and then we can kind of move into it.
Sure. Yeah, I come out of the grocery industry. I was a retail clerk, and been a union member since I was 17 when I started working in a factory, and then when I went through college I got a job in a grocery store and started off as just an interested person, you know, and where we were headed.
Mm-hmm. Where did you grow up?
Minneapolis.
Okay.
And moved over to St. Paul when I went to school and became a shop steward and got on the executive board and went out as an organizer. We had from time to time I'd leave my work and go work on projects for the local. And then about 10 years ago I came on as a staff person, and I pretty much work on organizing and getting people to move on things.
Mm-hmm. So can you talk a little bit, I mean, before we start talking about the larger kind of moment, just talk a little bit about recent Minnesota politics and the kinds of things that are going on here. It's a very complicated state.
Well, it's getting weirder. Now the thing that we've noticed the last few months is with the extreme folks on the right wing, they're almost like they're conducting purges within their own party. We just had there's a senator named Debbie Johnson, who's a Republican senator, not a very effective one, but she just got knocked off in her own endorsing convention.
By a Tea Party kind of group?
Somebody that's more pure. And now we're hearing that there's a senator called, her name is Senator Pat Pariso from down near Farmington. It's a little bit south of the cities, who's always been very right-wing. And there's rumors they're going to take her out too. So it's weird, because you just wonder how far right are people going to go within that segment.
Uh-huh.
And the thing that I can remember in the old days, and I'm not that old, when both sides would actually compromise and move stuff forward for the public good, and that just seems to be totally gone now.
Uh-huh.
And both, let me be very clear, I'm not a fanatical. In this state we have a Democratic Farmer Labor Party, but it's crazy. We just had a governor veto this health care bill yesterday that would have covered the poorest of the poor, and bipartisan support, and it went down with the veto pen, and I'm just shaking my head.
What was his language around that? I mean, how did he...
He wants, his soundbite was he wants the legislature to address the budget deficit before they do a bill like this, which is totally, it's smoke.
Mm-hmm.
It's just adding to his resume as he, travels the nation trying to figure out if he can pull it off as a candidate.
Right, he's really seriously talking about...
Yeah, he doesn't read history, though, so I would advise him to read history, that nobody from Minnesota is going to become a president. It was what really started. Here's the connection, though, with our governor. His brother was a union member in my local, good guy, produce guy, and I used to sit on the e-board with him, and he just wondered what happened. They're just he's totally forgotten his working class roots, if he ever had any.
Mm-hmm. Where did he cut his political teeth?
Eagan, Minnesota. It's a suburb. He got on the. I think he was on the school board, and then he was on the city council.
Kind of came up through the Republican machine.
Then he ran for House and was the majority leader for a bit.
Uh-huh.
And then moved on. He's never won a majority of the vote here.
Uh-huh.
And it's just because of the ineptness of the Democratic Party in running a candidate, and then nobody's ever figured out the independent voter here, in my opinion. It's just like, well, we don't need them, we've got a base, and actually you need them because your base is eroded.
Uh-huh.
So
Can you describe a little bit your own kind of political coming to consciousness? Like, what are the years that we're talking about that you started to become active and started to think about both local and national politics?
Oh, I would, certainly when I was in college, I was aware of stuff, with the farm workers, and I was a member of the United Electrical and Radio Workers, because I'd work in a factory every summer, make enough dough to pay for a year of college, which is, you tell people that now, it's like you're crafting this, students now don't even understand that, and this is back when we still used to make stuff in the U.S. I made, I was an electroplater, and we plated Tonka toy bumpers because they were still made. Tonka toy was made in Mountain, Minnesota, with Mr. Coffee components, and then cluster bombs, because at that time Vietnam had wound down, so we were shipping most of this junk down to El Salvador, and you just started thinking about what you're doing. And then I would say the big awakening for me was the Hormel strike back in 84, 85. And I remember reading Union Advocate, because Peter Ratcliffe had written something on the 34 Teamster strike, and I go, wow. So I called him up, and that's how I got to know Pete, and then got involved with the strike and a number of struggles over the years.
Mm-hmm. So what are the, let's parse this out a little bit. First of all, kind of how would you describe the economic lay of the land in Minnesota right now? It seems like a very complicated picture. I know it hasn't fared as badly as some places, but there have been some...
Here's how bad it is, though. 27 years ago, I got laid off when I was working for Applebombs. That was a chain, a grocery chain, family-owned chain in the cities. I got laid off, but I only got laid off for a month, and I got called back to work. We're experiencing mass layoffs in my local and the grocery stores now. So when you got the building trade guys, they've been crying the blues for a year. Now it's filtered down to the service sector, and we're taking huge hits. I got just about every chain that we represent is laying off now. That's how bad it's cut.
So what does that mean for labor politics, and what does that also mean for the kind of party politics that is likely
I'm seeing and I always believe that out of challenges can come opportunities, but what I'm seeing is this diminished expectation, of people.
On the part of kind of everybody?
Everybody, saying, well, gee, we're not going to be able to move this piece of legislation along this session simply because we can't. And then I see it it used to be somebody could call me up and say, hey, I just got laid off or canned at this store. Can you get me in another store? Mm-hmm. And you can move somebody along and get them in place in the job. I can't right now. The only place I can get people work right now is in the packing houses. And not everybody can do that. So that's bad. I'm also seeing, I think I'm seeing among labor folks a division of, hey, I've got something going, and boy, we sure wouldn't want anybody else to get in on this project because it might mess it up. And I'm seeing that with some of the development. We're always trying to go after like a card check agreement, a majority sign up, or a community benefits agreement. And the building trade guys, fair amount of them don't get that. And they're going, hey, you guys might derail this plan. Mm-hmm. And there's tension like that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what are the rates of union membership in Minnesota?
Out of Minneapolis, he lives here.
I think statewide is probably 20-22%. We've got density in grocery where maybe 65-70% of the stores are organized, mm-hmm. and some of the chains are 90% organized. Construction is just falling down in the toilet. A number of these, like the electricians, I think they got less than 5% of residential organized, and carpenters, lost their share. It's all construction.
Oh yeah, I was here.
The big projects, but there's still some density.
Oh yeah, we were here this year.
So when you talk about these massive layoffs, are these sectors of the economy that you can foresee coming back?
Well, I'll give you an example. I just had we had a chain up here at drugstores called Snyder's, and they just sold their script, the prescription list to Walgreens and folded it up. That was 309 members are out of work, and this company is owned by a larger company out of Canada, and when we went to meet with them, they said, oh, by the way, the Plant Closing Act, WARN Act, doesn't apply to us because it's multiple retail sites, and I disagree, but I was the lone voice on that one. And then they said, oh, by the way, you're not covered under COBRA because we're ceasing to do operations. So all my people are out of health care now. So we're scrambling on that. And our response has been, no, you're wrong. And at some point we might go to federal court because it's an orphan law. You have to get some injunctive relief. And we've organized the members, for our dislocated workers group. We'll be applying for a grant on that. And then we've tried to place as many people as we can in different shops. The pharmacist shouldn't be a problem. The farm tech should be okay. But I got a bunch of older women, clerks that have been members for 30, 40 years. They're not going to get hired by anybody. And people should be able to go out on their own terms. Now, where some asshole comes in and says, "Hey, we're done," they deserved a 60-day notice. They deserve, better treatment than that.
So they can
We'll see.
check you, make sure you
Well, that it's the big fish eating the smaller fish.
the numbers are short.
So we're working through that right now, and then I think we got another layoff coming. It's called Cub Foods. They're owned by Super Value. They're bargaining their contract over Minneapolis with the Minneapolis local right now, and now they want to sit down with us and talk about relief. And we've told them we're not interested. We're not going to reopen our agreement just so you guys can cut and slash.
So what's your outlook? Well, let me ask two questions. First, so how are you spending your days in this climate? I mean,
well, we have a legislative agenda that we're pursuing because we're trying to institutionalize some stuff in the state. Like the thing I'm working on right now is paid sick days. Okay, and we're doing that for a number of reasons. One is, every worker shouldn't have to live in fear of taking a few days off and then not being able to pay bills. Two, I think it's a health issue, and also, we represent a lot of workers in meatpacking. All you need is one plant outbreak, and you can wipe out an industry. Because once people find out the food isn't safe, they ain't gonna buy it. So we're working on that. We're working on some federal stuff that we're hopeful for, and I'm pretty jaded, but we're going to go full comprehensive immigration reform. We just had a great meeting with labor, faith, even the prick from Chamber of Commerce is there. He's on board. I just detest this guy, but he said all the right things.
Well, so how does that even happen? I mean, how is someone from the Chamber of Commerce?
We sat down with them and said, hey, you guys have a real problem in this state because even though the economy's in the toilet, there's not enough workers in these plants. Whether it's a packing plant, whether it's a nursery, landscaping, whatever. They need the workforce. It's not by anything here, but so I had a great meeting the other day with Senator Franken, who I think could be a champion on this bill, and that was cool. I mean, we had law enforcement there saying, "Look, we don't want to be federalized. We want people to be able to walk up to our officers and talk to them when there's problems." Business was there, faith, of course, and then. Labor. So that's hopeful, and so we're running with that, and then we're trying to think outside of the box. We're not trying. We are thinking outside the box with, like this neighborhood here needs a grocery store. We have a number of underserved neighborhoods where you can't buy fresh fruit, meat, whatever. So instead of just rolling over, because the only chain that wants to come in here is Aldi's. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but it's a German chain. One size fits all. very anti-worker in this country. All the other ones seem to be organized, but so we're going to say, hey, why don't we start building our own grocery stores? We'll work with community groups. And if you want a grocery store, we'll figure out a way to either bond for it, maybe get some money from a pension fund, attach it to CSAs, have a farmer's market there a couple times a week, maybe teach some classes on how to eat, because different communities have different health issues, and do that. And UFCW has been doing this. They got a pilot project in Detroit, Philadelphia, New York, and out in Seattle they're starting to do stuff. And they've been kind of messing around with it in LA, but it's more policy instead of bricks and mortar. So we're working on that, and then we do organize workers, and we were going to be the first local in the world, in the U.S., to file for an election at Walmart last summer. We had 2 hot stores, and we had to pull up. We had to put the brakes on because they're international. I think they were afraid we were going to win or we were going to lose. So we kind of parked that, but we're still meeting with workers, and we're going about it in a different way this time. We're trying to build a real strong committee and then walk people through winnable things and empower them and see where it goes. And working on that. And then we'd love to, if we had capacity, is we do a lot with the immigrant community, and we've built up a lot of relationships statewide, is to just go after the poultry processing in the state, because it's very low. Not much is organized around poultry. We got swine and beef, but and that's, if you give us 4, there's never a right amount on organizers, but if we could get 4 or 5 organizers, I think we can tear up the state. That'd be fun.
There's a really particular and different kind of labor culture in this state. Do you find that young people coming up have a sense of the Minnesota traditions? It's
kind of weird. I go over to St. Thomas. That's where I went to school. And once a year I get asked over there. There's a business law class, and they teach a labor law thing. So I go over. There's a guy from the public sector that comes in, and then I come in and do my spiel on what it's like in the real world. And I always have to do one of these because a kid will start running his mouth, and I'll go, hey, here's the deal, and here's how it works. And I actually had a kid last year go, hey, this is really neat. I like what you're doing. Can I work on anything? So now I got him as an intern, and we're working on stuff. But no, I think what we have now is we don't have people that hate unions or people that love unions. We have people that have no institutional knowledge because it skipped 2 or 3 generations because their father or their mother never worked.
Right. That's what you see on the East Coast is a total disconnect with the
and you get your antis, but that's all the shit they pull off of TV, or sometimes you just wonder. And there's also this sense of entitlement that's kind of scary too when you talk to kids. Like they just assume that that they got to have a break at work or vacation, shit like that. You're like, no, it's basically once you punch in, you have no rights unless you got a union. And even when you got a union, you got to fight for it every day because you do. It's just. And you get a lot of most of our organizers that we've hired the last few years have been right out of college, bilingual, which is great, and full of energy, but they don't. I'm troubled at times that we don't have people that actually come out of the shops. I think, and I see that more with other unions where they hire the kid right out of anybody that's younger than me now is a kid, but like SEIU, they'll hire somebody that's really bright. And we do a lot of work with them, but I've noticed that we're, very little connection to actual work experiences. And don't get me wrong. One of the problems with the labor movement has been incestuous over the years. Is if you showed up for meetings and got active, even if you had no skill sets, you could usually move up the staircase. And we're a testament to that in some of the different locals where you just wonder how this person ever got into a leadership position. And we got a real struggle going on right now in St. Paul. The head of the Regional Labor Federation, Peter, told you about this. Turns out that the guy got caught in a sting with a hooker, and he got caught cheating.
Who was running the sting?
Cops. He got pinched. Neglected to mention that to anybody when he was running for this office several months ago, and it just came out in the newspaper. And he's a buffoon. And it was only me and a guy for retired machinist that got up at our last meeting and said, "You got to go. This is unacceptable on a number of levels, and you got to go." And everybody else just said, they're trying to turn him into Nelson Mandela now. So I got to figure out how to get him removed. But it's a black eye, and you don't treat women that way, and it's so messed up. He doesn't get it that it's not about him. It's about the institution and what's left of it. Plus, it gives those that hate us the ability just to marginalize everybody. So we have our black eyes. That's one thing the labor movement's missing. We don't have anybody that's super charismatic.
Who was the last one?
Cesar Chavez, I would say. I think who I've met. Oh, back before he got, I don't know what your word. Trump could be riveting, and you do these, speeches and get everybody. I can't remember who used to work for him, but he was like a preacher. He was good. Some of the guys from the East Coast that used to come out here, like during the Harnell strike, the guy from the CWA at one time was, forget the local, but we don't have anybody that really, lives a Spartan life. It's totally, is fanatical, is a true believer, and that's what we need.
Mm-hmm. Is this the current? Well, you at the outset talked about crisis and opportunity. I mean, is there a way that this the economic collapse of the last 18 months, 2 years, is a moment to kind of rebuild notions of what a labor movement might look like?
I think with all the upheaval that it's ripe for organizing, because the calls we get or the conversations we have with workers are, you know what, this sucks. I want to hold on to what I have, but I also know that we can do better, and that's what inspires you. There's never a good time to organize, because you'll hear all these, right now is not a good time. Well, you know what? It wasn't 20 years ago when the economy was going. There's never been a great time, but I think with certain sectors, people say, I got nothing to lose, so I might as well go for it. Mm-hmm. I see that more with the immigrant workforce. That's where I've been inspired over the years, because we've done packing houses where guys walked out. We had a wildcat strike in South St. Paul. These guys just walked out one day and said, "We're done being treated this way." And then a guy ran over to our hall, and we started organizing. Like, because the plant manager goes, "You're all fired." They said, "Fine, have fun finishing up." And they realized, I'm screwed. Oh no, we'll slow the line down. They came back in and we started to drive. And a laundry down on Red Wing, commercial laundry. This is a few years ago. And the plant director got up and said, I'm going to call back then it was still the INS. I'm calling the INS. And our lead person said, hey, I'll dial the number for you. And she backed on. So that's where we've gotten inspired. I haven't gotten inspired by much in retail. It's usually white.
Right. Who are the immigrant groups that you're working with most?
Mostly Latino and Somali.
Somali. In packing?
Yeah, poultry. That's swine. But that's changing even now. Our plants, with the economy and the toilet, you're seeing less and less undocumented workers because they've all come home. And then you're seeing more countries. You know, the plant in South St. Paul, we got 15 different countries there. The swine
It's real clean.
down in Worthington, they got 31 languages in that plant. And they got a steward for it. It's really a cool. For a lot of these packing house locals don't have the resources that we have, and I'm always amazed at how they get it together.
So what's your sense of the, or not your sense, but what's been your experience of politics at the national level over the last?
Well, the elected friends don't understand the level of anger, and their inactivity will be their downfall. And instead of, you know how you used to get, you'd say, hey, you guys better do something, or, and they go, or they'd say, or what? You're going to go over to the other side. No, here's what's going to happen. We just won't participate. And that's what's going to happen this cycle. We're going to get
In 2010?
Oh yeah, I think we're going to see a swing because we're not going to get back. What we're saying right now is we're not going to get back the Obama wars. They did their things, so you're not going to inspire them. We're going to have a low turnout.
Okay, thank you, Charlie.
Then our jobs are going to take over. I mean, I don't think in this state. I think we're not going to pick up any congressional seats, but they will further solidify, I think. And people are pissed. I mean, there's just this level of, healthcare keeps going up. They're being attacked at the job because what I'm seeing now, I've never seen this many terminations in our stores because they're trying to get rid of everybody. So you're up to your nose in grievances and trying to figure out stuff. And is it a bad thing if we lose some seats? No, because those that show up decide. And it's their inactivity that's going to be. People are so frustrated. The thing that surprises me though is why the war isn't more of an issue. Why are we still? What are we doing? I don't get it. We got that going on, and talk about dragging your economy down. There's nothing. There's no. We're not getting anything out of it. So. But that I think once again people are beaten down so much. And if you're raising any discussion, you're not patriotic.
So are you at all optimistic, looking beyond 2010?
I think things will swing up. I think in order for us to do anything or grow or make things, we got to take it upon ourselves, and we're going to have to create some sort of street heat, some sort of action to move. Because labor law, EFCA ain't going to happen. And I was talking to a reporter last week, and I said, look, we've been told that's dead. That's fine, because we're not going to wait around. We still have to organize. So we'll think outside of the box. If it means some top-down stuff, we'll do some top-down stuff. If it means you get a real militant group where you strike for recognition, let's see if we can pull that out. And, we can't wait. So we got to move that along. I think our local is positioned well. We've been providing health care for folks. We've created a fund that's like the model. And we got to, I think we can actually put together, we got to have some intense conversations with workers. Like, literally hundreds of one-on-ones to identify leaders, but also have something together where when we're having discussions, we say, you know what, we can create a career ladder at your work. You know, we can bargain for wages where you don't have to worry, you know, every week whether you're going to pay your bills. And you know what, we kind of figured out the healthcare thing. Now, you know, we need some help on that, but, you know, that type of thing. And we're not in, no, that's the thing that always pisses me off about organizing. We're not insurance salesmen or car salesmen, but you got to have some resources to move people along, and
Didn't work out.
I think we're positioned for that.
See, that's what's up right there.
So, you know, I haven't thrown in the towel, but there's some serious, you know, some serious stuff out there.
Yeah. But are you seeing, because of both, I mean, the actual gridlock in government, but also the perception of gridlock, are you seeing a different kind of receptivity to some of these out-of-the-box ideas that you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, our local is very well, we're in the community. I mean, so it's not this thing out when you drive to some Taj Mahal out in the suburb. You know, we're in South St. Paul. It's a working class community. So, I mean, we're tied in, and I think everybody's got a voice, at least. I mean, that's one good thing about belonging to a union. At least you engage your folks in a conversation, or come down to the meeting and raise hell and not worry about being on the outs. We're an outlet of sorts. How's that? You know, we're not perfect, but you know, I think we're a voice. I don't know. We're doing stuff, you know, like we're doing. In fact, I got to get back to Mahal later today. We put up a YouTube thing every week now on what's going on. We're one of the first. I think we're the first union. I'll take credit. We organized the Borders Books several years ago. They ended up closing the store because of a lease thing or whatever. But we used to do a stream right after negotiations and just throw that up. You know, we want to get people engaged. We put out a newsletter after every negotiation when we're doing our grocery contract. Nobody else does that. You know, when we say, here's what happened and stuff like that. So, I mean, we're trying, but we still got to, we're doing a lot of introspection now on who we are and who our members are, because I don't think we knew. We made assumptions about our membership, and now we're trying to figure out who they actually are. So you can, you know, we got a lot of older members now. For quite a while, we thought, we're young. We got a lot of guys over 40, you know, women and men, and they have different concerns than younger people, you know. So, probably didn't answer your question.
No, it's interesting. I mean, it did answer my question.
I mean, you know, the way I look at it right now, things are tough, but I'm not going to sit in my car in the garage with the engine running because there's work to be done. And you got to break it down and figure out what you can accomplish on that day. But you also have to realize that, you know, you can only do so much legislatively, and usually that moves at a glacial pace. And then with the organizing you do, you can move folks along, and you can actually have a difference. When somebody calls up and says, "Hey, you know what? I got health care for the first." You know, I have insurance for the first time. To me, that's powerful. Or in regards to immigrants, you know, being able to represent workers where they're no longer afraid to go to work, and you know they have some representation. But, I guess that's the way you got to look at it.
All the
Small victories.
Well, you know, the 80s look good now, let me tell you.
Who would have thought, right?
Yeah, no shit.
Oh, yeah. I own one of those.
You know, we're only one. we're only one of 4 USCW locals left in the U.S.
I've got the one.
where our members don't pay a premium share on their insurance.
Remember they were all over
And I know that's kind of,
You know what? Let me tell you
that's something that's concrete. And, do I have this wild, group of workers that will rise up when we got something? No, I mean, it's something on a day-to-day basis. You just try to build relationships and figure out who can be a leader.
Remember that? And then the double doors closed.
We got some real diverse membership politically.
Was there a union tradition in your own family coming up?
My dad was a teamster, and my mom belonged to the Nurses Association.
Once you close that double door, you have to come up the stairs, or through the double doors, or through.
Yeah, my dad worked in the warehouse.
Where the office, where the corporate office is.
Got promoted, and he was like an inventory guy. He worked for a wholesale hardware company, which was very interesting how they organized. He worked there, and then he went off to World War II, and they came back. This is the Teamster local, the big one, the strike came out of. And basically they had a card check agreement. Their president said, I don't really give a shit what you guys do. Majority want a union, that's fine. And that's how they organized. And the head of personnel for the company had been the police chief of Minneapolis during the 34 Teamster strike. And just weird connections like that. No, my folks always value, and belong to a union. And they honored work, as I would say.
And then you get a second door charge. Because remember, you have to go back out.
Interesting here to talk about stuff over the years.
Go back out.
How things have changed.
Yeah.
Have little go-go dances and
Honoring work, for example.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing where Martin Luther King said, no jobs menial if it pays well. And we've gotten away from that. We de-skilled stuff, and then we also, your owners will, when you're negotiating or whatever, will make remarks about, well, I could have. You get into some. What they're finding now is because they've de-skilled a number of these positions, like meat cutters, for example. We're going to actually have to develop a new program in the tech schools for cutting meat, because the big wave a few years ago was everything was going to come in case ready. You just open up the case and stock the shelf. Now we're cutting more meat again in the stores because it's cheaper. So, and by the way, all our meat cutters are retiring. So, same thing with bakeries. We represent bakers. A lot of that shit, it wasn't scratch baking anymore. It was just stuff that would come in frozen. You'd throw it in the oven. And now a lot more operations because of the whole healthy food movement and all this other stuff. So it's funny how things.
So it's reskilling.
Yeah.
In a way. Or,
yeah.
both. One win.
Is there anything we should have talked about that we haven't?
Once you get one done, the other one.
I mean, I guess maybe a final question. I've been talking to people all over the country, from laid off workers to high-end financial managers, and there's a broad consensus that this is a kind of extraordinary moment in the U.S. Everyone feels it. There's not a consensus about what that means or what's extraordinary about it, or whether it's hopeful or desperate or what. But when I say to you our current moment, what's the most resonant part of that? What's the thing that's important about this moment we're in?
Yes.
I think we have to grab, and I've said this before, but we have to grab these crises and turn them into opportunities, because the guy across the table from you, the business, the people that want to take away what we got or lower costs, and they get it, and they seemingly have turned their crises into opportunities. We have to turn the table into the same thing. The whole with climate change, what a great opportunity. But we got to move on that, and we got to figure out fastest way, I think, to grow jobs. You know, and I don't know if that's through training. I don't know if it's through helping people set up their own business or what. But we gotta seize it. And if you're gonna wait for somebody to hand you something, you're gonna be waiting a long time. Well, I'm frustrated with. I do a lot of work with the building trades, and I'm frustrated with some of the locals because they're kind of waiting for like more federal money. And I'm going, well, don't you think we should be actually assigning somebody to dig in and see where the projects are going, and maybe have some conversations with folks across the channel there, across the sea, on some of these companies, and figure out where you're going to go. Because if there's too much of a victim syndrome at times. And, you know, nobody should get jobbed, but we got to save ourselves. So that's an opportunity. I think with our local, we could just grow like that, given the crisis in food right now. We could develop some cool jobs. We could partner with some locally owned folks and not get ensnarled with these chains. And everybody would win. Much more.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time and.
Yeah, good luck on your. You're talking. You go talk to Greg now. 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 You go talk to Greg now.